Alright Augie, today is the day. We are finally reviewing the Zeiss Otus 55mm f1.4. You know why 55 is such a significant number for you, Augie? It's your IQ and the age of the last prostitute you paid. I have you know, last time I haven't paid anything. The lady of the night just sucker punched me and ran away. She stole your wallet? That means she never looked into it. It's just filled with a bunch of random buttons and expired bus tickets. Yes. She burned a lot of calories for nothing. And oddly enough, you're still the loser of this story. Here it is, a Zeiss Supreme cinema image quality lens in the body of a photography housing, the Zeiss Otus 55mm f1.4. A pinnacle photography lens that really is just a videography lens. Just like film festivals are really just timeshare scams with cameras. The Otus is made of metal with a focal throw so smooth that only Germans can engineer while watching ladies on VHS take a dump on some dude with a Kaiser Wilhelm Schnauzer. The internal optics are 12 elements in 10 groups. That is nerd talk for I lost my asthma spray, but more glass equals more sharp. It also is a Canon ZE lens, with aperture being controlled in the camera. The front element has the high-end Zeiss coating, but this lens is not weather sealed. The filter thread is 77mm, and it does come with a metal lens hood that is somewhere in my basement. It is a supreme lens quality, even with a rubber focus ring that will show its age with a lot of use. That's what she said. The image quality for video is superb. Everything is shot at wide open, and the rendering looks like it's embossed. The lens was designed with no shortcuts in mind, and the Germans did an exquisite job making this lens. But Zeiss has made great lenses for over a century, making you wonder, have Germans ever really fucked up in human history? Actually, scratch that question. Be as it may, most people that don't like the Otus fall into two categories. The ones that are broke, living on the copium that the Chinese lens is just as good, and then there are the other people who lack even the most basic amateur photography skills of focusing a manual lens efficiently. A skill that even a monkey could do within 2 hours of training. So if your vast talents hit the limiter at the stage of press a button and point at a thing, this lens is not for you, good sir. So I should just declare the Otus 55mm as the best long-term lens you can buy. However, there's a third group of people that don't like the Otus. The folks that find it too clinical, deprived of character, too unpleasant and sharp for human skin tones. As boring as a missionary position with a date who's too lazy to take off the bra. For those critics, you're in for a treat, because I'm comparing the Otus against the best 55mm vintage lens for skin tones, the Steinheil 55mm f1.9. A battle that will echo into the halls of the Nibelungen, filled with Valkyrie maidens cheering on the thundering heroes of Teutonic glass. So here's some footage with tricks out of focus. And here's some more tricks out of focus. And here's some tricks slightly less out of focus. In case you're a bit slow, this is a bokeh comparison. Now both are very smooth focusing lenses, but which one does it better? The Quinon is the smoothest focusing vintage lens I've ever used, and smoother than 90% of modern lenses out there. But the Otus isn't some riff-raff modern lens with some focus-by-wire nonsense. Its larger size and longer focus wheel edges out the Quinon in focusing precision. Maybe not by much, but enough to notice it. Also, adding a focus wheel on the Otus will be a lot easier than on the Quinon. Next up is focus breathing. Granted, viewers care about focus breathing as much as Disney cares about meritocracy. But that's neither here nor there. And what is there is a focus breathing in the Quinon, while the Otus is minimal to almost non-existent. You will notice a weird difference in lighting reflection between the two lenses. The difference is because of the variable ND filter. The internal lens formula combined with the ND will change the light reflection. I assume that the more glass elements you have in the lens, the more it's going to deviate from the original image with an ND. Not to mention that you have to increase the ND strength the faster your lens is. And here we have more emphasis on the bokeh. It's modern Zeiss, so things are as creamy as the ice cream-themed hunger dreams of a body positivity enthusiast lady who is so big that 3 smaller, bigger ladies are orbiting her. But if you prefer the vintage stained glass pattern teardrop bokeh of the Quinon, then this probably will be the deciding factor on which lens you prefer. At f2.8, things start to level out, and at f4, they basically look the same. Pokeballs are slightly bigger on the Zeiss at f1.4 and f2, but the interesting thing, one stop down, both have the octagonal shapes. Let's get to lens flares. I will be using the moonlight lighting since I'm mysterious and aloof. It even says on my business card. The flaring of the Otus is very controlled and quite unassuming. That is the function of modern lens coating, but if you want something more artsy to compensate for your lack of characters and story, you will be out of luck. The Otus will expose you as the bore that you are. But not the vintage lenses. They have the perceived character that will help you dig yourself out of the hole of your own mediocrity. So you notice the problem is cyclical. If that makes no sense to you, what do you want? I'm mysterious and aloof. For anyone new, this is Augie, our male model. Some of my critics will say that a mangled face like Augie's does not qualify for modeling. And I will definitely defend the criticism. Actually, yesterday I had a consultation with a plastic surgeon. What did he say? He said he could give me a discount if he adds 2 hoofs and a curly tail. But nothing matters if you can't test the lenses on a humanoid subject. And I'm saying humanoid since Star Trek set the bar quite low with that definition. Some people will ask, what's the point of this comparison? Why test the Otus, a Zeiss flagship lens, against a vintage lens that most people had never heard of? Well, you complaining sons of bitches who are watching my video for free, because any other modern lens can't compete with the Otus. So it's a futile exercise for me buying an inferior lens where I already know the result. Furthermore, some people think they want a modern lens, but subconsciously would prefer a vintage lens. And some people think they want a vintage lens, but subconsciously prefer a modern lens. People suffer from category errors. Why else buy sharp lenses for over $1,000 and then slap cheap softening filters on them to make them less sharp? Anyways, at long distances, the vintage look is the most pronounced, especially at the sides, where the field curvature looks like the glass got wiped on someone's butt crack. However, that look is more classically cinematic with the subject isolation. In contrast, the Otus has corner-to-corner sharpness in every aperture. Now we get to the medium torso distance. The Otus' superiority in sharpness and gradual fall-off at f1.4 is what gives it a unique 3D pop. Even at f2, the Otus still has more bokeh than the Quinon. At f2, the center point of the Quinon is not unsharp, sharp enough to be in focus, but not so sharp that the focus is the sharpness. At f2.8, it becomes much harder to tell them apart in the center. But the giveaway is the resolution in the corners. At f4, they're even more harder to tell apart. Look at Augie's face. The only time people don't give him a second look is on Halloween. Coincidentally, it's also the only day local kids don't throw produce at him. If we zoom in, we get to see the resolution difference. Now there's a question you stingy fellas will have to entertain. Your sour grapes excuse of not wanting the Otus is that it's too sharp. But looking at both lenses, at f2.8 and f4, the skin texture is fairly similar. And the Quinon's specialty is very pleasant skin tones. What's up with that? Could it be that a lot of the internet criticism of the Otus for videography are from keyboard experts that never bothered analyzing the images? What a surprise! But not just that, but the Otus image rendering is actually quite charming. There goes the "is too clinical" cope. Too clinical for what? Funhouse mirrors? And here are some corner sharpness samples. There isn't much for me to say other than either you like the corrected corners or you don't. And that really should be the major deciding factor for what kind of lens category you want. Now keep in mind, as nice as a field curvature is, isolating the center subject for the viewer, when it's time to do over-the-shoulder shots or many framing angles using the popular golden ratio, the distorted edges become as cute as an OnlyFans model without her bipolar medication. Not to be confused with the buy a polar bear meditation scam that Augie almost signed up for. Fortunately, he can't operate a computer to open up a PayPal account. The bread and butter distance in narrative work is the medium 3-button shot. And if anything, this should be the deciding factor which lens you would go with, if you haven't decided yet. Wide open, the Otus looks actually great. Bokeh is pleasant and not distracting. And if you like distracting, we're labeling it as character, then the Quinon is more your thing. The Quinon also has more of a yellowy color signature as well. A color signature that disappears at f2.8. At this point you have to pixel peep to see a difference. And at f4 it's basically a wash. You might ask yourself, what the fuck? What vintage lens looks like an Otus at f4? Well, the best West German vintage lens at 55mm. The Quinon supposedly has radioactive glass, making it not look like some old Soviet lens shot through a used Kleenex. But again, you are asking the wrong question. The real question is, why does the Otus have skin tones as organic as a pleasant vintage lens? If this would be a Sigma or a Chinese cinema lens, the skin would look like the bottom of the feet of a university students who just wasted 30 grand on Marxist dance theory. So the Zeiss actually enhances reality. And if your actor's skin looks too rough for this Otus, then maybe it's time to invest in a makeup artist and a pound of paint. Next up, this is the maximum close range distance on each lens. That's close enough to show any hideous details and skin tones. And with Augie, there's a lot. And for all the photographers that stuck around, here are some pictures on natural mode straight out of camera. There isn't really much for me to say at this point. The pics look like a retail shelf row displaying defective garden gnomes on clearance, or a peeping Tom police lineup during the potato famine. But the big question is, what would the Otus look like next to the Quinon in a cinematic scene with a lot of action, and a lot of drama, and a lot of stuff? Well, wanna know more? I'm going to be honest, all these tests were designed to favor the vintage lens. I too am a cheap son of a bitch who would have gotten a kick out of having the vintage character underdog beat the cold-hearted sterile flagship lens, while sticking it to an elitist consumer culture. However, the big twist is that the Otus is not boring and sterile. Its character and charm is subtle, like good wine, understated like a handmade quality suit. You put a boring man in that suit who usually wears colorful t-shirts like a 10-year-old to compensate, people know that suit is just a rental. But you put a refined, interesting man in that suit and you have James Bond. The Otus is not a great lens because it has the strength of other modern lenses. It is a great lens because in proper hands, it has none of the modern weaknesses. Well, Augie, it's safe to say that both lenses are fantastic for video, producing great images. Just too bad that you were in those images. Today, when I took a pee, I forgot to unzip my pants. Augie, you didn't pay attention again to anything I said. According to my social worker, I have a learning disability. She also said I should practice operating a shotgun trigger with my toe while aiming the barrel straight into my mouth. Well, always remember, if a lady is nice to you, she's just being polite.